That's kind of the way that I've tried to approach it with WRP stuff, and certainly with Trinity as well. Like, I've kind of never done it for the money. It's like I'm doing it because I'm a bike rider. So I want a product that's going to be really good. But in saying that, I think that's where the most authentic stuff comes, because it's like, well, you're doing it for the right reasons then. But I think a lot of Europeans kind of take it for granted. It's just like, oh, it's just a race down the road and it's a World Cup. It's like, it'll always be there. I could do it next year. Whereas Aussies, desperation is probably the wrong word, but for lack of a better term, it creates a bit of desperation. It's like, if we're gonna do this thing, well, like the Chad Reed type of guys.
Yeah, it's all or nothing. You're burning the boats at some point.
You just like, let's just send it.
I met a gypsy.
Let's talk about the difference between like weight-wise in that thing. So is that heavier than like a carbon bike or?
Again, it depends what you're comparing it to. Compared to like a carbon downhill bike, probably a little bit more weighty. So that bike, that's my personal one there that I've been riding sort of all summer. So as it was set up in that picture at the top, it was 16.8 kilos, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, that's benchmark for a kind of downhill weight.
Yeah.
Admittedly, it had an air shock in, which probably saves a bit of weight. It's only got a single speed on in that configuration, so that would save a bit of weight because you don't have a cassette and derailleur and whatever. But that's 16.8 as it sits. That's tubeless. It's like straight tubeless, no inserts. So that probably saves a bit of weight. But it's comparable.
Yeah, and obviously it's easier for you guys to manufacture or like to prototype in the alloy because you can weld the shit up and it's a bit more workable.
Yeah, so that's full chromoly front end. So Nigel welds all the chromoly in-house down in Geelong. And then, the rear end is all billet aluminium.
Yep.
So honestly, we explored so much stuff, and about how we're actually going to make it. We explored carbon. What we were going to do in the initial sense was actually have it like billet CNC the whole thing.
Yeah, okay.
So basically, like that front triangle that you see, basically CNC two halves, sandwiching together with epoxy and some like locating screws.
Yeah.
Personally, a couple of other bike companies have tried that. It hasn't necessarily gone that well. And Nigel being sort of the master fabricator that he is and like making a lot of roll cages and whatever, and us sort of having common backgrounds, we were pretty keen on the chromoly idea, particularly because he was like, well, I can make it. And because you don't need to like post-weld heat treat it, like it's not a necessity to post-weld heat treat or anything, like it's so easy to prototype. Like if you just want to tack on an extra tab or something, you can just tack it on and
test it.
If you need to cut it off. Yeah. So like the version 1 frame, by the end of it was pretty hacked because we wanted to test a bunch of stuff. And but the billet, all the billeting section, there's like numerous reasons for that. But so we can test flexes of rear ends. It's all modular.
Billet means CNC machined, right?
So billet is like it starts as one block.
Yeah.
And then you mill it out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's super cool, man. I just love the look of the thing, like Thanks, man, everything that all the thought that went into it, the material. Like to me, that's just as bike porn as it gets.
Yeah.
How long did it take for you guys to go from the three of you meeting, like you're on that call, till the first run on that bike?
All right, so it's pretty funny, man. Like it's pretty wild to look at in hindsight. But so I jumped on that call in December of 2020. So WRP was very new, actually. And then we kind of just fucked around for a bit, just exploring ideas. And then there's a show down in Melbourne. I'd never been to it. No, none of us had ever been to it, but it's called Handmade Bike Show. And we were like, it's a local handmade show. Like maybe we could set that as a deadline and just see whether we could build a frame.
Yeah, cool.
And dude, the first frame that we built, we started like a week before the show, and it literally took the whole week. Nigel did most of the fabbing. I was in there every day helping him, and it was because everything was custom, dude. Like everything, not one stock bolt. Like he milled everything, like on the lathe, like custom bolts, everything. Got to the show, like literally put it in his van, and it was still warm from the welder. Like unloaded it, And like literally it was just a bit of a thing. Like I was saying, like it's never been about making money or anything. It's just like cool things to do. So we took that bike to the show, and like it actually is pretty funny because it's a 3-day show. So like Friday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. We went Friday, ate a bunch of the food, pissed off, and didn't come back until Sunday Arvo. We drove up, grabbed the bike, and just went. And everyone's like, "Where the fuck were you?" Like, we want to talk about the bike. Like, there was media there, want to talk about, and we like honestly, we just didn't see it. We were just like, "Oh well, we built this bike. I guess we'll put it there if people want to see it. They want it." But we were like just hanging out back home.
Yeah.
And then the attention that it got, and I guess.
So can you go? Let's find a picture of the first one actually.
Yeah. I think it'll be on Pink Bike. There's numerous Trinity articles on Pink Bike, but I'll be able to show you the one.
Yeah, because I remember it.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember it being the first. Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry. That's the second one. Sorry, go back. So that's last year's show. Fourth one down. Yeah, that's the first one.
Fuck, that's crazy, dude.
It's pretty Mad Max.
It looks sick now compared to that too. Like that obviously looks cool as fuck, but like
it's come a long way.
Oh man, it's come a long way.
Yeah. So we built that one, and honestly, like we didn't expect it to get the attention that it got.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh shit, like we might actually be onto something if it's getting sort of the praise that it's getting. But we were so new, man. Like, and I'd just started WIP, so we kind of kept exploring ideas and whatever, but literally between that, so that was May 7th, 2021. Between then and the next show, which was only 12 months ago, we'd only built one other bike, and it was a proto. And we really done bugger all riding on them just because we were tied up doing other things. Like, again, we didn't really see it as like a business venture, I guess. And then last year's show, it got a fair bit of attention. And then people started talking to us that are pretty like respected, I guess, in the industry as far as athletes and whatever concerned as well. And we're like, oh, maybe it's
really something.
Yeah, maybe it's really something. And in the last 12 months, like since last year's show, now we've built, I don't know, quite a few bikes. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, 10. So it's like, it's really ramped up in the last 12 months. Kind of like, all right, let's get our shit together. And yeah, but a little bit like you said right at the start, like after this, like this probably got some of the most attention out of any of the bikes because it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, with no like announcements.
Yeah,
no
like
nothing.
we literally, and like again, like I won't mention any names because of contracts and stuff, but like we literally had like world champion level guys being like, I need a frame now.
So what's their like? What are they seeing in that bike that they were frothing that hard to get a frame?
Well, I guess it depends on a couple of things, and it would probably differ on like per person. I think one of the big things would have been gearbox compatibility. Because so that bottom bracket section, like underneath the shock,
that's for the gearbox to slot straight in.
Well, it's all modular, so you can run basically any driveline you want. So that bike there has just got a normal set of cranks. So like that's just a single speed there, but you could run like a normal cassette and derailleur at the back, or you could take that bottom bracket out and plug in a gearbox, so like an Effie gear or a pinion, which you can buy off the market, or you can plug in my yet to be released cassette in a can like the Honda.
Yeah.
Which is pretty special, I think, because like any other bike has kind of been confined to just one.
Yeah.
One or the other. And again, like, because there is a fair bit of testing in MTB, I think guys really were like, whoa, like I could run kind of anything I wanted in this.
And so what's the appeal there? To be able to run any, like, would they change a track to track, or would it be just allow them to get like the exact setup that they want? What are they looking for when it comes to that, do you think?
I don't know. This is just like personally, I think the biggest thing up until now has been, so there's always been the argument particularly from the gearbox manufacturers that the gearboxes are better, but there's always drawbacks. Like the gearbox in MTB have got a fair bit of drag, traditionally speaking, so you're losing efficiency and whatnot. Relatively heavy, and the other thing too is, dude, like it comes down to like sponsored athletes. So if you're sponsored by SRAM,
yeah, you're running a SRAM gearbox.
well, running a normal cassette. 'Cause SRAM, that's all that SRAM offer.
Yeah.
And I think the big appeal with this was kind of like, well, the jury could be out of which one's actually better, because this is like the first bike that's come along where you could actually back-to-back test every different drivetrain with just undoing 6 bolts.
Yeah.
And it's like you could easily do back-to-back-to-back runs and be like, we can act like with data acquisition as well, and be like, this is actually better or this is actually worse or whatnot. So I think that was a big appeal. And then like the virtual high pivot, I don't know whether anything was leaked by Forbidden or Norco before this, but I can't really remember off my head. But in any case, like the virtual high pivot suspension platform was extremely new, and I think that caught a lot of people's attention. I don't know. I don't know whether this sounds really like wankerish, but I also think that like, I don't know. I think people can see, like potential customers can see the intentions behind the builders.
Yeah.
And like we're not Trek trying to push something down your throat.
Yeah.
We're literally like, this is an open agenda. We just want to make a high performing bike. That's all that matters.
We're excited to announce the launch of our new membership site, gypsytales.com, packed with exclusive content and perks that you won't find anywhere else. This is your chance to become a part of the Gypsy Gang. And as a special bonus, if you sign up to an annual membership, you'll be entered into the draw to win our custom-built TC125. Gypsy Gang.